All right. YouTube is receiving the signal. Good. Good. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Excuse me, goodness. Wow. Mute your mic, streamer. Gosh. Hello, everyone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get started, whether I want it to or not. Oh my gosh. Wow. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the official Rockfish Games stream. I'm your host, Eric Schrader, the community ambassador for Rockfish Games. I will be leading you through all things EVERSPACE 2 related. Oh my goodness. Already got some things going on the screen. I'm super pumped about today. We're gonna have a little adventure into in-game content discussion. We're gonna be talking a healthy bit about it, and I'm gonna show you some things. We're gonna show actual things. I know, it's crazy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But, you know, a lot of you guys have been wondering since our post on the Kickstarter back in 2019 what exactly we meant by these ancient rifts and the in-game content that they would provide. So I think it's about time that we jump on that front and start answering those questions. Now, of course, I do have to preface this with the general, it's early access, work in progress, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. At least I hope you do. If you're coming to these streams for the first time, welcome. This is where we, the developers, engage with you, the community, and show you what we've been working on. It's not going to be a completely super polished, everything's done state. If you have that expectation, you're already going to be disappointed, okay? Don't walk in here thinking everything you're going to see is like fine-tuned, precise, exactly the way it's going to be a full release, because it ain't. We just got done implementing some of these elements like a couple hours ago, right, Hans Christian? A couple hours ago? So yeah, still a lot more work to be done. But that being said, it's ready to show you what it looks like when we get to an in-game state in EVERSPACE 2, exploring the ancient rifts. So, without further ado, let's open one. Let's dive into it, right? Let's just dive into it. So here you can see we go to the spatial bypass. We have a create ancient rift option. This will change, but still. Also, just imagine some really super cool sound effects, just like, and it just gets increasingly louder and intense. Vroom! Here we go. Here we go. Right into a rift. I also need to state one other thing before we get really crazy. Oh, before we get super crazy, let's just have a quick look at our build. So super quick, it's gonna be lightning fast, as well as one other little caveat to note, and that is the music is not done here. In fact, it's gonna be weird. Remember when I said that you're probably gonna experience some strange things and it's not gonna be like super done and everything? That's one of the things, that the music is gonna be weird. So try to ignore that, kind of. Otherwise, just going through our build, we have a pretty standard energy effective, kinetic effective, double effective weaponry thing going on here with our interceptor. Not really going for any particular synergies or anything. It's, you know, it's got some Bloodstar raid set going on, but honestly, it's nothing crazy. Nothing crazy whatsoever. We are using the corrosion injector with mercy kill. We've got an EMP generator with short circuit, and we have parting gift teleporter because it's fun. Otherwise, yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's go. Let's get in. Let's go. Nice calm music. Now, just think about the most upbeat thing that you could possibly hear right now. That's what you'd be hearing. Got a lot of elements regarding the music that are going to be coming together for this. But as you can see, as of right now, we just got a couple of enemies that are approaching us. We see more that are warping in. We got several outlaws. We have outlaws, more outlaws. Oh, come on. Give me some variety, game. I know you want to. There's a demolisher, nothing you haven't really seen before. Picked up some items there. Don't know what those are. The music got calm again. Okay, good, excellent.
Target destroyed.
Here we have a Zerulia scout. We had a freelancer there as well. And on the right side, you can see it says Cedo Rift stage 1 of 4 above me, right over there. Right over there, right? So I hope that you guys can see already that this is not just a one location sort of thing. Man, we are crushing them here. This is nice. I do think I have this on normal difficulty. I might need to change that with a second or a third rift run if we've got time. But what you can see is the combination of enemies here isn't normal at all. So here we have a Redeemer Crusader, we have Outlaw Scout, Raider, a Bloodstar Overseer. We're getting a combination of enemies that we generally wouldn't get in standard play. And with every kill, we increase our resolve over here, as well as fill that progress, kind of similar to that high-risk area that you guys are probably familiar with. And then once all the enemies are dead, we have some portal options. And we can choose between which way we want to go to. Now, this is going to be very familiar for those of you who've run high-risk areas, because the mutators that we are still adding more of, by the way, you see that there's a mutator option on each portal. So on this first portal, you see that enemies will slowly repair their hull. On this one, enemies have 50% increased movement speed, yikes. And on this one, every time an enemy is destroyed, all other enemies present are repaired by 20% of their maximum hull hit points. I like to be explosive, so I'm just gonna let them slowly repair their hull, because I think I can destroy a lot of them at once with our EMP corrosive stuff going on. And this is the one we're gonna choose. And based on this choice, that's what happens in the next area that you choose. So again, sound effects here, not quite done, but you can tell, pulling you in, not letting go. And we're going to phase 2 of this particular run. Oh, this is gonna be simple. They're all nice and close. Fantastic. Retaliator scout there too. Beautiful. So the combination we're getting on this run actually isn't too bad for us. It's making this look incredibly easy, honestly. I was doing several play tests and smoke tests, frankly, before the stream had started. And this is much more casual. I'm not complaining so far. I'm sure we'll see some crazy stuff soon. But the main core of these rifts is that you can tell that, similar to a high-risk area, we're not seeing any equipment drop when we take out enemies, right? The only thing that we do see is like maybe a specialty resource that you maybe caught your eye against. But aside from that, no item drops. Excellent. GMB. Got another pocket of enemies inbound. Let's just head over and say hello. Yeah, because I don't want that. Oh, I was too far away. That was silly. Don't want to have anything too crazy barraging us from far. Oh yeah, we got a tormentor over here. Excellent. Nice. Our resolve's almost at 100%. That's really good. So, quick explanation of resolve. This little thing up. Oh, it's gone now. Well, resolve is something that you want to try and keep as high as possible, because if that reaches 0, the rift just ends. It's done. Every time you kill an enemy, it goes up. Anytime you're taking damage or time just kind of occurs, it goes down. Okay? Enemies deal area damage on death. That could be beneficial for us. Corrosion field's not good for us. Every time an enemy destroy all enemies. Ooh, all right, yeah, we're gonna go up against the corrosive, or no, excuse me, the deal area damage. This will be fine. And we'll move on to the next corner of the rift. Nice, nice. And I'm sure that some of you guys are probably wondering, like, you know, I expressed that I am probably playing on normal, which I think I am. I think. So, like, where's the challenge? Where's the ramp up? What would, like, bring this together? Because I'm like a hardcore gamer or something, and I want my challenges. There are plans. There are plans that we can't quite really discuss at the moment. But furthermore, the game difficulty shouldn't affect the rifts. I'm gonna say that one more time just in case anybody missed it. The game difficulty should not affect the rifts. And your game progression, like where you're at from a level standpoint, I think that's the only modifier that's really being taken into consideration when you're up against these rift challenges, so that the enemies aren't like blatantly super powered or underpowered. So they are calling back your level, your player level. Try and keep our distance a little bit here so we don't explode ourselves. That seems to be our leading course of damage now. Good, good. Excellent. Ah. Really trying to keep our resolve as high as we can. This should... Oh, nope. It's 5%. Okay. One more. Maybe 2 more. 2 more. Depending on the enemy type that you take out is going to depend on how much progress you make from a kill. There we go. Whew. Excellent. And now we're getting to just a soul portal here. That's the last one. There's nothing else. Just the one. There's no modifier on it whatsoever. And this is where we can start talking about like work in progress stuff, guys. Not that everything you've seen hasn't been thus far. But what you're gonna see here when we go into the final portal, I just wanna put a lot of emphasis on, is very work in progress, okay? I think some of you might see this, you know, I'm throwing it out there like we're really cracking into this as openly as possible, and it might feel a bit underwhelming. We know it's not done. All right? Like, just imagine that being the last bit of the rift and we just completed it like that, right? But we did. And all our loot's getting sucked into it. But so are we, so it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna chew on some gum. So, after that, completing that little section there, it spits us out of the rift with all the loot. Oh. Hello there. So that is the very first look of the ancient rift. Very first look. That one went so fast. But yeah, let's go ahead and pick up all of this loot and let's talk about legendaries. Because I know you all want to know more. I know you all want to see what I just picked up. You're eager, you're excited. As am I. Because legendaries are in fact making their way into the game. You knew this already, nobody's surprised, but you don't know exactly what they do. So let's just talk about this one that was a complete random drop. I had no idea this was the one that we were going to generate. Let's talk about Wrath of the Fallen. As with any legendary item that drops in this game, it will have 4 modifiers, as well as a very special trait that modifies some sort of core aspect of the game. And in the case of this one, this means that killing an enemy now has a 40% chance to instantly revive them and force them to fight by your side for 15 seconds. Is that crazy powerful? Yes. Is it balanced? Probably not. Are legendary powers going to be crazy powerful though? Yes. So we're gonna plop this one on. We're gonna use it. We're gonna use it. I like it. Cool. At the conclusion of every single rift, you are guaranteed to receive 1 legendary. At least right now. At least right now. I see the question, can I have that destroyer on my side, please? From my testing, it is totally possible for any ship you destroy. Yes, any ship that you destroy to fight by your side. I had some pretty fun combinations. So, does that mean that an outlaw destroyer could do that? Technically, as of right now at least, yes. Will that change? I don't know. Maybe. But you can see, like, the intent behind the legendaries is we do want it to be a game-changing attribute. It's not just a matter of, oh, let's have these stats or have this, like, modifier that does a thing. It's all about the specialty attribute. And that's how every single legendary in the game will end up being. Now, regardless of where you are at, you will be spawning a rift of that location. So let's, I haven't done one in Zarkov. Let's go to Zarkov. I'll just show this to you. Zipping on over to Zarkov.
Ooh, I could get spoiled by the ease of spatial bypass travel. I've been detected.
And then we are going to create an ancient rift over here. While enemies are shooting us, that's totally fine. You guys are silly. See you later. I hope that some of the music ends up working okay, because the music that we are planning on having is really great. But you know how it is. Oh, hey, we got an ally already. See if we can get a demolisher on our side. Ah, that would have been awesome. Ooh, a coalition fighter. So, based on where you go, like the location, the system of your rift, you're gonna have different visualizations, right? Because clearly you can tell we're not in Cedo anymore, right? And there may or may not be some other effects based on which system you are opening the rifts in as well. For now, we're gonna just try and survive and overcome this one. Ooh, we had an Okar fighter join us and an outlaw scout. That's great. Nice. Get him! Oh, he died. I feel a little sad, but not really. Excellent. Prospector on our team now. Fairly clean legendary in what it accomplishes. I'm sure that this would synergize insanely well with Vindicator builds too. Especially considering the fact that Vindicators, well, actually, shoot. If you're going for like Delia's perk with nanotechnology, nanotech will also appear nearby allies. Got to make sure you've got that all the way up. Make them last for that full duration of 15 seconds for sure. Enemy health bars are hidden. That one's not too bad. Slowly repair hull. Just got two options here. All right. So I want to do a quick callback to some other creations that we've worked on in the past, so you guys can kind of get a feel for what's going on here. Like, why is there a loop here? What's the point of this? How's this helping me as a gamer? What do I need to access this? Like, I'm sure you're getting all these sort of questions coming out, and we will answer a group of your questions in about 10-ish minutes. But just let's kind of start from ground one first. The whole idea of the Ancient Rift comes from a tried and true method of most looting and shooting games, where you can go to a specific location to overcome a specific objective, a challenge, to obtain some very high quality stuff, right? You guys have done it in like about any game that you've played ever, right? And this is one of those methods that is going to be imperative for decking out your end game ship, okay? While you can still do the high risk area runs, while you can still do the jobs and the missions and, you know, all that type of stuff to satisfy either like system specific requirements or like the actual doubly named challenges that you're going for, the Ancient Rifts is more specific in regards to the type of stuff that you're going to get out of it, while giving you challenges that you have not experienced in the rest of the game at all. So a keen eye has already noticed that the enemy composition that we're up against here is nothing like you've seen in any of the other systems. We are getting an amalgamation of factions on a team against us, right? And sometimes those combinations are going to be not so bad. Sometimes they can be challenged, like they can be rather difficult depending on what's going on. as well as these mutators, which I always like to call handicaps in regards to EVERSPACE 1's hardcore runs, which this kind of harkens back to. But it's done in a manner of accessibility, where you can quickly dive in, do these runs, get your loot, and get out. And if you don't do so hot, if you completely get destroyed, if you completely get destroyed, there we go. And all is lost, and it's terrible. The Ancient Rift sucks you out of it. So you cannot die in these instances, which means you can't lose any progress from previous rifts or lose any loot or anything like that. It is a get out of jail free card. It spits you out and you get nothing. Good day, sir. You'll also notice that it did not spit us out with 0 hit points. We have full health upon exiting the rift, so that if there were enemies nearby, we wouldn't just painfully be crushed into bite-sized pieces. We'll go ahead and take these guys out because they're much lower level than us. If I can reach them, there we go. Excellent. So go ahead and we're gonna collect these resources because I can. They're sitting there looking at me. I want them. We're gonna head back to home base. And we're gonna do another Cedo run. I'm gonna keep doing some Cedo runs specifically because I don't want to go anywhere else yet. We're gonna focus here on Cedo.
From one place to another in an instant, and unscathed.
Who knows what havoc this is doing to your microcellular structure?
Excellent. And I know I said that was gonna be like 10 minutes, 5 minutes ago, but I think now is like, you guys are asking a lot of questions. I'm already like poking over and seeing people being like, oh. Some of you are like overwhelmed, some of you are underwhelmed, and I'm sure you've got some burning questions. So, GeekBite has been on the line. He has been taking in all of those questions that you guys have been pouring out through the streams, and now we are going to cover several of those questions so that we can start the conversation surrounding these ancient rifts, the endgame, legendaries, and all of that stuff. This is an open forum where we are going to be talking a little bit about it, but obviously don't expect me to spill all the beans. This is a first look foremost. So, GeekBite, what questions we got?
Oh, we've got plenty this evening. Good evening,
Good.
stream. Welcome. Right, where do we start?
Yeah.
Over on YouTube, Bearded Frog. Why is difficulty mode considered uncomplimentary to the Rift challenges? I don't see why enemy AI effectiveness, health, DPS can't function alongside the challenges of the Rifts.
Right. Well, that's a really solid question, honestly. So the short answer is because we don't want it to. But that doesn't really flesh out, you know, all those nuances, the context behind it and everything. So the long answer, at least as much as I can respond to, effectively, we want these rifts to be very challenging, regardless of what difficulty level that you're playing on, because there's going to be something more than just the difficulty modifier that you can go into your settings and change here, okay? Because this isn't going to affect the rifts at all. Instead, there will be a system that will be complementary to the rifts that will be able to adjust that challenge in the future. We'll be able to talk and share more about that when we have more of these components in place. But rest assured, the only way that we view the rifts is that they start as a very hard challenge. That's the starting point, okay? And that's referring to the difficulty that you see in that menu, right? That contextually should make you aware that that's the starting point. From there, it will then only go up and up and up. So more on that in the future. Next question.
Excelsior over on YouTube. So the rift levels is currently limited. Are you planning to implement an infinite mode at some point?
An infinite mode is something that I know that we've talked about in the past, not in the recent past, but kind of like in the long past. Infinite modes are interesting because if we stylize an infinite mode, that means that you're gonna have to be rewarded for every little amount of progress, right? So it's like you complete area 1, that means you get like an item, right? So what's that item gonna be? Is it gonna be a legendary? Is it gonna be like a pitiful excuse of an item? Regardless, is it gonna be completely randomized? Well, because depending on what that looks like, now we have an ability for people to effectively cheese rifts. They go in, they wipe out the easiest location in the rift, they exit as soon as possible to be redeemed that reward instantaneously. That reward could be insane, or it could be absolutely garbage. And we don't want to do that. We want there to be a commitment to the rift to where you have to progress through X number of areas or whatever in order to obtain that reward. And any way that we do like an infinite mode on that, it would have to be like broken out into parts. Like you have to complete X number of locations to get reward 1, and then you have to complete X number of locations again to get reward 2. And every time it just looked like too much of a commitment. So also keep in mind that our demographic, what we're aiming for with our core vision here with EVERSPACE 2, it's meant to be a pick up and playable game. This is not meant to be a game that is demanding of hours and hours and hours and hours of your life in order to accomplish a thing. And if we were to make a single rift span across hours, we are kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. We are no longer hitting that proper demographic or the vision that we are aiming to accomplish. Instead, now we are creating something more, a conflicting vision that's going to appeal for a certain player type that can only get there if they go through the content that isn't necessarily designed for them. Two great ideas, but conflicting doesn't work. So that's why we have gone in this direction of more pocket, bite-sized, accomplish this task, then be rewarded for it for the rifts. I like that question a lot. I do. But that's why we've done that.
Cool. I think that answers one of Florie's questions later on with regards stages mode or endless mode.
Okay, yeah.
Whether that was going to be coming in. Yeah. So Gilles Mercier over on YouTube. So for now, the rifts, are these just HRAs with mixed enemy types and no loot?
I mean, I guess that's one way of looking at it, though I would also say that the HRAs also don't have loot until the very end, which is also similar to the ancient rifts. So I think there's even more in parallel than what you stated. Yes. Now, as I mentioned from a previous question, there is going to be a lot more depth in regards to how the rifts scale up, and that's going to be exclusive to the rifts, exclusive to what you're gaining through them. Like, I'm sure some of you kind of saw the Tears of the Mad item that I was gaining. Now, I can't show you that anywhere because literally isn't implemented. Like, even to go to my crafting, like, you don't see Tears of the Mad anywhere. That's intentional. This is a specific resource bound to rifts that will be utilized for rifts to make what you're doing in them greater, better, different, etc. based on where you're at and what you want to do. You don't have that flexibility in a high-risk area. High-risk areas are dependent on the system that you're in. They're dependent on the mutators that generate on the signal decoder, and that's what you get. Good luck. Rifts look very different on that front, and they will continue to evolve as we add more content to it.
Right, Eric Oldham on YouTube asks, will you be able to get Starforged legendaries?
Ooh, I like this question, but no, we are not going to have Starforged legendaries. At least not at this time. That's not really the intent behind legendaries. Legendaries are already pretty remarkable in and of themselves because of that specialty modifier they have. So if we made legendaries combating against themselves in regards to their grades, yes, that's an added layer of depth, if you will, from the itemization standpoint. Internally, we kind of just deem that as grindy. Like, we want you to find the legendary that you want, and when you find that legendary, the only difference between another similar legendary is going to be the mods. Because if we add that extra layer of grading to the legendary specifically, it starts slipping into those territories of, is this actually good for the player? Does this feel good, or does this feel like a chore? And we kind of argue that it feels more like a chore. That's not to say we can't discover some additions or changes on that front, but as of right now, we've left it out.
Excellent. I know Hans Christian's been in both the chats answering many of these questions as well.
Actually, yeah, and I should give a quick shout out to Hans Christian. So he's in the chats. He's HCK. He is one of our lead designers. He's been working very hard on these riffs. So he's also answering questions that you guys have. So if they are asked of me or they're not asked of me, definitely yield to his responses. So if he answers a similar question that I ask, his trumps mine through and through, because he's the one implementing most of this stuff, okay? Alongside the rest of the team, of course. But yeah, so big shout out to Hans Christian for being able to make it, answer questions. Really, really good stuff. So, yeah.
Excellent. Right, Kizor over on Twitch is asking, are legendaries going to have any sort of limit or for how many you can have equipped, similar to like Destiny Exotic?
Yes. So there has been internal discussion on this one, and this is probably going to be a can of worms that I open, but I'm going to tell you because, like, we're super transparent here. All right? That's how we do things. So as of right now, the restriction we have in place for legendaries is that you can only have one equipped at a time. Just one legendary equipped at a time. I know somebody is already flipping a table, but you know what? That's how we go about development on this front. And I want to be super clear, why we're going that route is because from a development standpoint, we have to make sure all the freaking legendaries work by them, okay? Like, that in and of itself, it's like, this is phase one. This is where we're putting one foot in front of the other instead of taking a flying leap over the cross of who knows where, which could be horrible for us and for you, frankly speaking. So, starting point, you're only allowed one legendary. This is something that we feel pretty good about at this time. It is possible to change, but I do think it's unlikely for it to change, okay? So, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just typing one question up. There we go.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Right, so T3 Cube on Twitch asks, regarding the legendary, if you kill yourself, will, and this is regarding the legendary that you've got equipped at the moment, if you kill yourself, will that have a chance to revive you for 15 seconds as death hands?
No, because if you look at the rule, it says killing an enemy has a 40% chance to instantly revive them. So if an enemy kills you, the legendary can't trigger because the prerequisites haven't been met. Ha! Gosh, what a cheeky question. That would be kind of hilarious, but no. We've got other tools in regards to, like, sustaining yourself, right? We've got the perks, we've got a couple other interactions, consumables. But no, that it does not happen from the cargo unit Wrath of the Fallen.
Thanks.
All right. Very good. So,
Florian Tetson on YouTube. Will there eventually be something in the game that will require us to have this legendary gear to be able to defeat it? Fishing.
Of course. I love those fishing questions. The short answer, you know, I really do appreciate this question, so I'm going to be incredibly transparent like I normally am. So, and that's really the full of it. So I hope that you guys can understand that. And I know that was like crazy spoil territory, and Mike was probably gonna be pissed off that I said that, but ultimately, yeah, so I hope that's a pretty clear answer. Should probably iron out a couple things, and it gives away a bit of what we're planning on doing, but still, That's really what it comes down to.
Very good. Great answer. I thoroughly loved that answer.
That's
that was
perfect.
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to Thunderflame on YouTube. Is there going to be a limit to how many ledgers you can have equipped at once? And I know you've already answered that one now.
Yeah, so currently it is 1. And I say currently, you know, because you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. I'm not saying this because, like, we want to kill fun, guys. Like, of course there's more than one legendary out there. We're going to see a slew of them, right? And we want to make sure that there's a lot of intentionality behind what these legendaries do. And we also want to make sure that if you're taking all of these legendary effects and combining them all, like that in and of itself is absurd. Like, we have to make sure that there's still a challenge for play, right? There will be a space and a time for you to just steamroll enemies. There will be. I can guarantee it. But it's not going to be by stacking every single odd in your favor because of equipment that's all legendaries. Like, we want it to be intentional based on how you are building it out, not just because you have this particular item that does all the work for you, right? So, if you want to have a specific playstyle that goes around a legendary, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to just equip all the legendaries and just be magically powerful and not have to do a dang thing in terms of thought. So that's really why we're putting a lot of emphasis on one legendary right now, and why it's probably going to stay that way. It could, you know, there's a possibility of change. Like, I don't want to, like, I just want to make sure you guys are aware, like, this is very much the design intent behind it, though. Like, we don't want you guys just stacked with stuff that just does all the work for you. Like, that's not necessarily fun. We've played that in other games. Like, you know, when everything is just super powered, then nothing is a challenge, and it's repetitive, it's dull, it's, you know, so yeah. We want the loot to have a meaningful impact on what you are building for. And one of the best ways to do that is to restrict you to one item that changes a core foundational mechanic in the game. In this case, it is reviving your enemies that fight for you for a short time. That is a very big deal. I know the Vindicator players out there understand this through and through. The difference between having a suite of drones around you versus not is night and day difference. So, yeah.
Cool. Right, bit of a not technical question for Finns on YouTube. First stat slot on this legendary is precision stat. Do legendary modules thus still follow the firepower precision structure, being the only 3 stat bonuses in the first stat slot?
I believe that's correct. Hans Christian would probably be able to answer that further. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be like always bound to legendaries or not. And Hans Christian, I'm not sure if you actually answered that one already. But yeah, pretty sure that it's just how it's coded in right now. The legendaries, the big thing for the legendaries at this point in time is that they have that outstanding modifier that no other thing has. Whereas then they have modifiers that are generally pooled in from a pool of modifiers that can generate on that item type. Legendaries can have 4 modifiers. So, yep.
Cool. Right, next up, flying through these. Slower and Tetson over on YouTube asks, will this enemy on your side thing also work in HRAs?
It should. Yeah.
Love them short, sweet answers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sincerely, like these legendaries, like we're bringing these in, like fresh to the game, and you know, not every legendary has been tested equally at this point yet, right? So I can guarantee there's going to be some really wonky, weird interactions between them. And we've already seen a couple, and we've been ironing out several of the bugs that occur from them. But for the most part, the big things that we don't want to happen is whenever you're using this and it creates an ally, then when the ally dies, they drop loot, for example, right? super basic, hopefully that's super basic understanding. So effectively all of the enemies that are converted to an ally, that generated aid for you is kind of in a separate pool of type of ships. It doesn't have any loot associated with it. So when it's destroyed, no loot drops. But it should be able to generate in basically every situation where you're destroying an enemy and you have a 40% chance of it occurring. Cool. So I think we're going to take a quick timeout on the questions. I know there's going to be more pouring in, but I want to get into another rift. I went ahead and opened one over here in Union. So we're going to go through this one, and hopefully we're going to grab another legendary that we can show and talk about. Oh, that's exciting. So let's do that. Let's get on that. Maybe we'll see a couple different enemy combinations too. One of the nastiest ones that I've seen was a combination of elite proto scouts and some Zerilia that had Okar shield generating drones. Whew. It was a bit nasty, but it can happen. All right, here we go. This area is not too bad so far. Now, also remember, like, for all of those of you who are like looking at this and you're saying like, man, I really want a challenge. Remember what you are seeing here. First off, I am decent at this game, so it's not like I'm just face rolling these guys. In fact, I know that the really skilled players are looking at this going, man, you're killing them so slowly. But like, this isn't easy. This might be more perceived as kind of like maybe a standard challenge at worst. But it's only going to go up in the challenge of this experience from here. It's only going up. This is the base of what rifts are going to be doing against you as you combat against them, as you open them up, fly through them, go against their challenges, complete their objectives. It's going to be looking a bit different in the future in that front. But for now, you're seeing the first gates being opened as to what to expect from how these rifts operate. We're gonna do explosive death. You can also just fly into these. You don't have to like enter them either. What ship is that? This is an interceptor. I think it's a tier 2 plus interceptor. Wow, that was very explosive. Feels good. I wanted to get that sniper, but oh well. They just melt. I love that. Oh yeah, we got an overseer on our team. That's fun. Ow. I'm really hoping I get one of the legendaries. I really want to show one of them that's just been... Yeah, we have to hope on RNG to see what's going to happen next, but... Another area of effect, I feel like that one's been working in our favor, but let's mix things up. Enemy name types are hidden. All right, let's do that. Yeah, I see there was a question pertaining to the weapon that I'm using because it sounds different. Like the autocannon, what's going on here? There is actually still a lot more sound design work coming to weapons, believe it or not. But yeah, this is a decimator variant of the autocannon, which is why it sounds particularly different. But the different tiers, different tiers of weaponry have different sounds. So if you guys use superior synchro pulses, for example, you know that this is not the sound of it. It's a different sound of a synchro pulse, just based on that mere fact alone. Let's see, let's do that number. Excellent, beautiful. You'll also notice that all of these enemies, whenever we can't see the name, they're all called Ancient. I don't know why. All right, here we go. That's a Zorilla. No, that's a Prospector. All right. Oh! Retaliator there. Getting froze in these engagements sucks, by the way. Ooh. Some Zorilla are nearby. It's not good. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm glad we're getting a couple allies to join us, because getting focused by some of these shots and explosions is can be pretty brutal. All right, that was stage 3 of 4, and then we're moving into the 4th stage. I see a question that I really want to answer that simply can't be answered right now, but the question is, what are tiers of the map? It's a resource that specifically drops inside of rifts. That's the short of it. And now we're gonna destroy this outlaw destroyer because he has no place here in these rifts. Oh, we got a fun one. Excellent. So all the loot gets sucked in, spits us out. Yeah, so like if you guys get to this section and then like you do a thing and you don't pick up the loot in time, it's not lost. It pulls all the loot with you and spits you out alongside it. Like this. So we got a legendary weapon. This one is called Devotion. Let's look at it. So if you guys are anything like me and you forget to use your alt like all the time, this could be your go-to because of just the sheer amount of damage it uses. Just insane. That being said, it does consume your ult with each shot. So, just a quick note on this. It has a pretty decent fire rate too. Like it's not slow. Right? Obviously, sound effect is not done either, by the way. But the point of it draining 10% with each shot is effectively so that you don't have ult in tandem of using devotion. Devotion is all about you using an absurd amount of energy in order to fire the dang thing, which is very, very powerful. Let's see if we can one-shot this bomber. Maybe not one-shot it, but... Oh, we can't fire it anymore. We're out of ult. We gotta generate ult. I used too much of it in the demonstration of firing it. We need to get more ult first. Also, Hans Christian, I found a bug. So even though our ult isn't fully charged, because it was when we started using the weapon, it looks like I can actually no, I can't use it, but it's flashing in the upper left like we can still use the ult. So I'm just saying that audibly so we can write that down and fix it. Let's take out some of these lesser enemies in this area real quick. I want to get some more ult to use this a bit more. So the big thing for using this one, and yes, I'm using 2 legendaries at the same time, Dove build for testing. We don't have it restricted yet, but that will be something that becomes restricted. What I would need is I'd need increased ult generation. Yeah, I would need to change that over. Let's see. I also need to get in here. I feel like I need to do some stuff on that front to help power up ults more effectively too. Yeah, because I probably want to go crit happens, ulterior motive. Well, no, probably critical faculty with... Anyway, the point is that you want to sustain your ult generation in combination of devotion. And it just does insane amounts of damage for you. So long as you're keeping that up, right? I don't appear to be gaining ult energy. Oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe that's just a straight bug. And we need to fix it. Show us your mod folder. Oh my gosh, you guys. Let's see. Let's go through here. Going back to Cedo the standard way.
Hold on. I think I got his radio signature.
Nope. We're not doing side quests today, boys. That's secret. I see people saying, like, I think 1% would be fine and more reasonable. I can assure you with the testing that we did, it is very possible with certain builds to achieve way more ult energy in the blink of an eye than you might be thinking. So it does kind of require particular builds in order to utilize effectively. But rest assured, we want to make sure that the legendaries aren't so broken that it just, like, again, makes the game painfully easy. There has to be a trade-off. There has to be a purpose for you using it in order to bring together some other components that you are synergizing, right? Like that you are establishing. There should be some semblance of purpose on that front. And some are just kind of like general sort of like benefits you no matter what too, I suppose. But this is one that very much requires a demand of the player's competence in order to bring it together, and then it can be incredibly fruitful. Now, I say all of this, and is this 100% done and gloriously balanced to perfection? No. Is it gonna stay 10%? I don't know. I'm showing you stuff like fresh out of the oven. Like, we barely had time to stick a thing into it and make sure that it was done. Is it fun and is it something cool that we want to show you that we've been working on? Yes. So here you go. Also, we're updating a little bit of the UI and stuff. So like here in the hangar, you can see up there where the ship is at. Like when we change ships, you can see which one it's on versus which one, the other ones that are available. And you also see the number of slots that you still have left. So we know that we have 2 ships out of 9. Is there 9 slots there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah. Just a little detail, just little updates like that through the UI that we will continue to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap this weapon off since we are not doing an ult build that's gonna help us out too much on that front. And we also wanna just clear out some of this other stuff in general, I think. So I'm just going to clear out a lot of this relatively quickly so we can go collect more stuff. And then we're also going to store this legendary in our hangar. Cool. You need to dismantle 100 legendaries to be familiar with them for the second one to equip. Oh my gosh, you guys are ridiculous. I do like how you bring up dismantling legendaries though, because that sounds like an interesting concept that we haven't gotten to yet. So, I'm gonna open up one more ancient rift. We're gonna blow through this one, get another legendary, and then after that, we'll answer some more questions. Man, we're doing way more rifts than I thought I was gonna do today. I'm just like plowing through them. Just plowing through them. Woo! There we go. Ow. That was very painful, actually. Need some allies, come on. Take the heat off of me. Oh, frost shield drone, ooh. I'm glad he's isolated.
Looks like I've got company.
He can be a little bit of a nuisance if he's around other specific enemy types too. And just in case anybody's wondering it, because I'm thinking it, and so I imagine you guys are too. Just to be clear, the generation of enemies in these rifts at this time is completely random.
Yes.
Emphasis intentional. All right. So let's see. Enemies destroyed. Health bars hidden. This is fine. We'll do enemy health bars hidden. Wormhole animation is sick. Just wait until it has the sound effects. But thanks. Yeah, we wanted to go for this feeling of just hopelessness, where it cracks open and then it's like, all right, you've deemed us worthy, and you're going in. You don't have a choice. It's kind of reminiscent of the specific black holes of EVERSPACE 1 Ancient Warden Destruction. That may or may not be intentional. There we go. Yeah, we're cruising through these pretty fast. I'm sure there's some lunatics out there who would be cruising through these even faster, but don't you worry about that. We'll get you covered. I promise. I'm actually really excited for the next couple iterations we've got going for the Ancient Rifts, what that's going to look like. But for now, you can see very clearly that's this loop that's recurring loop that we're doing over and over. To get these Ancient Rifts is very much something that requires a sort of established part in the game to accomplish. So you can't just open Ancient Rifts at the start. Obviously, you guys can put together that you need Kala at the very least because you have to have a spatial bypass. So, and then there's certain things like the Tears of the Mad that's just dropped again above me that can only be found here. I know that you're all kind of like putting two and two together. You're already figuring out next steps. Ooh, resistant to EMP, let's do that. Absolutely, we're not using EMP very much, probably. Also, I look over, guys, make sure you're not harassing Hans Christian, okay? The decisions that we've made for, you know, a lot of the rifts very much has an appropriate in-game stylization in mind. And, you know, part of this is like, yeah, we're open to feedback, you know, we're showing you, so of course you can like say what you will. But also keep in mind that there's gonna be some stuff that you say that's gonna be completely irrelevant since there's still a lot more to these that are coming. So if it sounds like we're ignoring you or you think there's something like super basic, you're like, well, why isn't X, Y, or Z in there because of reasons? It's probably not because of that reason that you're thinking of. It's probably because of something else. But regardless, I'm really happy that we're able to start showing you, giving you a slice of what this is starting to look like and how you'll be approaching the end game of EVERSPACE 2, one aspect of it, a big aspect of it, that can help you find new equipment, that can change up play styles. There we go.
Destroyed.
I know they're resistant to EMPs, but they can still take damage from it. Haha! It's the benefit of the modes of the devices. Excellent. One more. Something else I guess I didn't mention, but at any point in time during the course of the Rift, you can technically leave it. I don't know why you would, honestly, but we did it just in case somebody out there is like, I feel like this Rift isn't going well. I want to get out of here. You can just instantly return from the Rift, and you lose nothing, just like if you were to die in the Rift, you lose nothing. It's effectively the same exact thing. And there'll be even fancier animations for entering the Rift, exiting the Rift, being destroyed in the Rift. Like, if you can think it, then yeah, there's probably another sort of thing kind of going to show up soon-ish. Soon-ish. I love crushing them so quickly. I haven't seen this legendary before. Bob? What? Bob the Legendary, all right. We're gonna discover a new one together, folks. But otherwise, whenever you are creating these rifts, one other thing I'd like to mention. Now, I'm going over to the spatial bypass and it says create ancient rift, right? This may or may not be completed. We don't necessarily want there to be some sort of random thing you have to find in order to open ancient rifts. But with more features coming to ancient rifts in the future, there's going to be a reward, or rather an added risk reward system towards if you are collecting a lot of Tears of the Fallen, or Tears of the Mad, excuse me, and utilizing those through the systems that we're designing for ancient rifts. Let's see what Bob's all about. I've never, oh, it's another cargo unit. Gain a permanent combat drone ally named Bob. 30-second respawn timer. Oh my gosh. Bob, join me, please. Where are you? Hello, Bob. I'm impressively enamored. What? I'm not even mad. It's not invulnerable. No. Gain a permanent combat drone ally named Bob. Man, that's amazing. So he's got a 30-second respawn timer, which tells me that when he gets destroyed, after 30 seconds, he comes back. That's quite nice. I almost like this one. Well, it's hard to say which one I like more between Wrath of the Fallen and Bob. I feel like I got shafted though. I only got 3 modifiers on this one. What the heck, Hans Christian? You're making Bob not look so hot. What's up with that? And I say that, Hans Christian, I don't know if he's the one who actually whipped up Bob or not. Also keep in mind that we do have legendaries inbound that are being designed by Kickstarter backers. Kickstarter backers are designing a slew of legendaries as well. So I am glad that we found another cargo unit legendary, because this kind of reveals just how many legendaries we do have in the works, how many we have plans for. Because if there's 2 cargo units, and say we only were to like do something like 8 legendaries, well, that would be kind of silly. 2 of the 8 legendaries or cargo units, that doesn't seem very fresh or fun or, you know, whatever. So that in and of itself should probably be speaking a bit towards a bit of our vision, a bit of our plans, and the magnitude, the quantity of legendaries in and of itself. And if you didn't pick up on what I'm saying, I can't really spell it out further than that, guys. We're not making a small number of legendaries. All right. Well, Bob, it's just you and me now, buddy. That's great. And when I say it's just you and me, Bob, I actually mean it's you, me, and Geekbite, who's got some more questions to answer for you guys, since I've seen so many questions showing up. So let's crack into yet another round of questions and start ironing out the things that I can talk about and the things that I can't. Regardless, let's go. Let's make this happen.
Excellent. We've got Pandora's box of questions here.
Beautiful. All right, let's try and rapid fire it, shall we?
Cool. Good luck. Will there be any, sorry, this is from Finn's on YouTube. Will there be ancient rifts in tightly closed spaces, like in caves, inside asteroids, perhaps underwater, covered by ice, etc.?
If it was underwater, you'd never be able to fire, so no, that would not particularly happen, unless we had to generate a bunch of other additional things in order to allow something like that. But that seems a little bit outside the scope and scale of what we would like to accomplish. Could there be interior space rifts? It is possible, I suppose, but that is not a focal point at this time. There will be more variety in the locations of rifts, I can guarantee that, but that's about as much as I can answer on that front. So and also please keep in mind that what you're seeing here is like the very first iterations of these rifts to get them going, to make sure that they're mechanically working as intended, which they are. Like, we've got bare bones structure, the foundations here, where you're going through 4 different segments. You have a boss at the end that delivers a bunch of loot that spits you out to where you can do a new rift again. And there's only going to be more added to it. There's going to be more variety added from this point. I even had a conversation with Hans Christian earlier this week about what some of that looks like. So he can even say, yeah, exactly, Eric, in the chat. And you know that I'm not making this stuff up. Like, there's definitely more on that front, but we have to start from this foundation in order to build on top of it, right? So, yeah.
Excellent. Right, moving on quickly. Wizard Jerry on YouTube. Does this special attribute, e.g. 40% chance of reviving an enemy 15 seconds, will it be different, or will there be a variant of it on the same kind of legendary? So maybe 30% chance of reviving an enemy, for example.
I do like this question. No, that's not how it works as of right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure the plan is to have the legendary loot have a very static number, so it's not going to vary based on, you know, any other factor, kind of like the modifiers do, right? So like, for example, we're looking at this one right here that has 304 precision, 297 utility, etc., etc. We don't want the legendary status to be something that can be randomized on that front. At the most, it would vary very slightly if we were to go in that direction, but that's not really an intent that we have. We want the legendary to provide its benefit always, and then the random stuff can be on top of that surrounding its legendary attribute. That should be pretty consistent.
Cool. Right, this was actually answered, this question was answered by Hans Christian,
Okay.
but it's Tiberius on Twitch was asking, are rifts all going to have the same number of stages? And his answer was probably not.
And that is correct. That's all the more we're going to say on that one. Well, I mean, I'll say a little bit more. So, you know, I talked about how, like, the overarching vision of EVERSPACE 2 is to make sure that it's accessible. It's a very pick up and play style of game, right? Like, it might not seem like that at first, but anybody who has ever played EVERSPACE 2 for the first time and was thrusted into the tutorial, you know that process is slow. There's a reason we have a skip tutorial button, okay? Like, it takes a bit to just get the controls down. It takes a little bit to understand, like, pointing and shooting. Like, especially for people who aren't akin to these style of games, like, it's a big change, and we want to make sure that it's accessible. You can dive in and it's not gonna, like, break you if you're not the most skillful player of all time when it comes to 6 Degrees of Freedom. So on that front, and what I'm saying all of this for is that, like, we just want to make sure that when we're doing these ancient rifts in the end game, that we're providing that accessibility from a standpoint of time. Because we know that not everybody has a 2-hour timetable commitment, say, like, I'm going to do a rift today. Like, we don't want to design these like certain games in their, like, super long campaign structures of, like, especially in, like, those co-op style of games, right? This is a single player game, and we want to honor your time commitment when you are playing it. And through that, we don't want there to be rifts that are, like, hours long to do, hours long to accomplish. That goes outside of the vision that we have. This is what I was looking for. I wanted to grab a Vindicator and see what happened when I have Bob, because I wanted to see if I'd break the game. So we're gonna do this. If it crashes, I'm sorry. I want to see if Bob's gonna still be alive. We should have, oh, I should have checked my passives. I don't know if we have 5 or 6. Hang on a second. I'm doing too much. Maximum number of active drones increased by 1. So we should have 7 drones. 7 drones, 6 plus Bob. We've got 6 indicators to the upper left, but we got 7 flying around us. I like that. But should there be an indicator? Anyway. Hans Chris is gonna be like, stop it. Anyway, next question.
Next question. Slorin Tetson on YouTube. Will we be able to update the level of legendaries?
So that question opens up a different discussion. Man.
But Michael's not here.
I think Michael's not here, that's true. I think the important thing to know about the whole crafting system in a nutshell is that we are still making improvements to, especially on the modification side of crafting. Like crafting as a whole, like making stuff pertaining to especially weaponry is very much like a fill in the gaps of where you're currently at style of crafting system. So if anybody's expecting to be in like a late game situation, you want to craft the best item that exists in the game, it's not going to happen. Like that's not what crafting is supposed to do. It is meant to supplement. It is not meant to impose upon the space of the looter shooter itself. If the crafting was better than everything else, then I told you this was opening up a different conversation. But like if like this opens up an entirely different door of how we design finding stuff versus what you are crafting. So there has to be a play off and on of this where the crafting supplements, but the modification can enhance and go over the top, right? So I say all of that, and I hope that you can kind of see like modifying loot in general is something that is meant to be pretty powerful, so long as you're putting the time and effort to gain those resources. And you know, legendary equipment is definitely equipment, and there's definitely a modify button that's hovering over the top of that one. And that's all the more I can say. And maybe Hans Christian answered it more fully than that, but that's all the more I'm given.
Right, next up we have Fred Specvet over on YouTube. Will the legendaries have a fixed stat range or will they vary? For example, this one has 304 precision. What if they roll between 200 and 400? That would mean hunting for an item, potentially?
Yeah, so modifiers, and when I say modifiers, I'm talking about the stuff below the unique legendary attribute. The unique legendary ability, passive, trait, whatever you want to call it. All the stuff underneath is randomized and bound to it from there. Generally speaking, legendaries have 4 modifiers associated with them. Bob got undercut here, poor Bob, I don't know. He only got 3 for some reason. It's probably because it's a work in progress and it's not all done, but still, they're supposed to have 4 like this. So you'd have the leading trait, which is fixed, and then you have the 4 modifiers that are random. So we're gonna take this Vindy, and we're gonna do a rift with it, but we'll also keep answering questions, of course.
Right, Tiberius on Twitch. Regarding loot and legendaries, if every rift gives a legendary, then does that mean the player only needs to run, say, 15 or whatever rifts to get every legendary? I believe Hans Christian did answer this and say that not every rift will drop a legendary, but currently in the dev build, you do.
Right, and I think another thing to point out is that while it does appear, actually I even said it earlier in the stream, so I should clarify, I should update. So from my testing, it had appeared that there was always a legendary that dropped from the rifts, but if Hans Christian is saying that it's not always guaranteed, then that tells me, well, that's incorrect. So it's probably gonna drop from a rift. That being said, actually, let me check my notes real quick, because I want to make sure. One second, guys. I need to check on a thing to make sure that I don't say something silly. Because overall, we do have a vision for legendaries and the means to modify them. So overall, I found it. Overall, we don't want legendaries to only come from one location. We do want there to be a couple of different ways to acquire legendaries, but I think, I can absolutely confirm that rifts are the main way to acquire them. You just might not always get one. So sometimes there's going to be, situations that you have to really push yourself in order to accomplish them. But for the most part, legendaries are going to be almost solely dropping from them. And more of the ways to drop those will be discussed in the future. That's all I can say on that. Oh gosh, it sounds so like, But here, let me give you guys a little bit more context on that front, because that sounds kind of like meh. Like, what does he mean? There are plans to have like different goals and mutators and modifications of the surrounding Rift experience, okay? And I think that's going to more or less make your question a bit more satisfied with the content we're adding in the future, as opposed to just my response here saying there's more in the future, right? So I think that this is one of those situations where you'll just have to wait and see what we're up to, and then you can respond to that content accordingly, whether you really like it or you don't, and we can have a conversation from that point. But yeah, as of right now, the rifts are the big thing to get legendaries from. So, yeah.
Excellent. We just had a bit of clarification from Dr. Uyu. There's only a chance for a legendary drop in a rift, but there will be means to improve the chance. Yes.
Improving. I wasn't sure if I could say that word, but yes. Absolutely.
Excellent. Right, Kizor on Twitch asks, how many unique legendaries effects are currently in the plans, variants, options per slot?
How many legendaries are in the plans? Unfortunately, that's too revealing of a question for me to answer. But what I can say is that we want there to be a nice selection of legendaries. I say that, and I know a lot of you guys have been experiencing the set items in EVERSPACE 2 as of this time, which there are like literally 2, right? You have you have the Bloodstar set, and you have the Eclipse set, and that's it. There's more sets coming, and I certainly don't want you guys to look at the sets and be like, oh, they're probably gonna do like a similar thing with the legendaries. Well, it looks different, right? Sets are one thing, legendaries are another. And legendaries, we want them to have an impact regardless of what they are. And a lot of variety comes from every single one of those, and we want to have a lot of different ways that the end game can be changed, especially if you can only have one at a time. So if there wasn't variety in the legendaries and you could only ever have one at a time, that would suck. We don't want the game to suck. So we are making sure there's going to be healthy variety, but I also can't give you numbers, because that's too much of the informations. But it should be substantial enough, I think. I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
Right, this one has an answer from Hans Christian, but I'll read it out anyway for everybody else. Might be a possible compromise. Would you consider removing the legendary limit, however limiting the active modifiers on them to a certain amount? And Hans Christian did say that there will probably be a means to increase the number of legendaries that can be equipped at once, but don't expect that you can equip them all.
Hans Christian, he knows that Michael's not here. Oh my gosh. Don't worry, I won't tell him. That's good.
Right, Gabriel V on YouTube asks, have you considered diminishing returns on legendary's power as an option?
In regards to, like...
Don't know if it was when you were using the legendary earlier. Used the ult.
The one that sucks the ult away. I should put a build together to try and use that. Actually, let's do that. So I mean, there's a lot of considerations that we haven't made yet, and pertaining to several of the alts, or for several of the equipment that you can find, the legendaries. But you know, as with all things that get developed over time, we seek to find those, make sure that it feels good, that it feels healthy, and you know, just have a generally good time with it. So I'm going to make this to where, let's see, what's our precision's decent. I'm gonna try and change this around a little bit. We're gonna add more precision than firepower because our firepower kind of sucks. And we're just gonna try and proc. Synchro Pulse should proc a decent amount, and then paired with Devotion, we could bring it up and then pull that. Sorry, I'm trying to kind of just put this together. I'll try and make a working build around it. I really wish I had these, but that might not be, this could actually be a good combination because it only recharges while boosting. But, okay, let's answer another question as I'm kind of like plugging away at this.
Cool. Right. Gilles Mercier has asked on YouTube, what will players have to do in the standard game to unlock the rifts?
Yeah, so that's going to be something that you'll experience in time just whenever we get the game state out there. As I did say earlier in the stream, you guys do know that you have to have the spatial bypass, so you know that Kala has to be unlocked in order to start in on that side of the ancient rifts at all, right? So even like with where we're at on this particular save file, like we see that our next main mission is the emissary. So they can probably already give you some sense of like where you should probably be if you wanted to even start rifts at all. But more information will be on that front the closer that we get. The big thing is that rifts will not be accessible until you get to the Kayut Nebula. Like they're completely locked out from you. So if you're trying to like grind rifts, you're gonna at least have to plow through the storyline first. But ultimately, I think it's the most beneficial to do rifts whenever you are at level 30. But you know, that's gonna, yeah, that's also opening up another conversation. So, yeah. Anyway.
Don't know if you can answer this one, but we'll try anyway.
Sure.
Will ancient units, e.g. the Wardens, appear in the ancient rifts? And that's from Wizard Jerry on YouTube.
Oh, well, I'm sure that we'll see other sort of entities, enemy types, and what haves yous in ancient rifts that are not currently available to show because they're not ready or because we have plans that we can't talk about yet. So.
Love it. Spook Night on Twitch. While it said the limit might be one legendary, did the team already look at having one weapon and one module as a limit as a way of building your own set bonus? Now, Hans Christian has put an answer in for this one as well. There will probably be a possibility to increase this number later in the game.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're getting this question a lot, so I really want to drive this one home. The short of it is that there's going to be a lot of experimentation on how the legendaries affect the player builds that we're seeing come out of the game, whether they're ones that we are establishing, whether they're ones that you guys are establishing. And we want legendaries to complement and explode certain types of build opportunities. Because of that, if we were to allow for the multiple combinations of builds that are already very powerful in and of themselves, it creates like this hyper reality of everything just being way too good and you don't even have to try to earn it, right? So the intentionality behind locking legendaries behind only using one at a time is so that you focus in on what it's providing that you now need to establish your potential build around, okay? Like that's the core of why there's that restriction in place. That being said, one of the foundational rules of legendary attributes is that they make exceptions to rules. So, if you're following along, and I've just explained how there's this rule that you can only have one legendary, And we know that we have tools to make exceptions to the rules. Like, we want to have that playful interaction where it feels like you're breaking the game and being rewarded for it. So that's definitely something in line with our vision and how we want to move forward. But there is a very strong intentionality to that restriction in the first place. Okay? We don't want you to get 3, 4, 5 legendaries, slap them on your ship, and never have to try again. There should always be the notion of thinking about what you're putting together, why you're using that thruster and this shield and that particular energy weapon in tandem with what's coming together, right? There needs to be intentionality behind that. If it gets to a point where you're just like, I just need to slap on the highest number, then I feel like we haven't quite done our due diligence in providing the itemization that we intend to do and the experience that you probably want. So, is the game done and it's where it needs to be now? No, freaking no, of course not. It's not. But that's because we're not in the end game. We're not at level 30. We don't have everything to mash up and to compare on that front yet. More content has to be in place in order for you to balance and create equality around said content. But do know that that is our vision as we move forward. We want that to be the core structure of you putting the effort into this equipment you're plugging into your ship. It should not just be slapped on because of a number. It should be slapped on because of a special attribute or because of a special trait or because of how it works with this other thing. Like, that's the intentionality behind itemization as a whole in any game. It should be, at least. And that's the direction we're taking. So I look over in the chat and I see the game isn't done. Oh, goodness gravy. You guys. Next question.
Right, next up, Anton M on YouTube asks a question about your legendary weapon, actually, that you've got equipped. How does it behave when the ultimate is drained? Would it stop shooting or shoot with only like 10% power?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I have not seen
like
all the legendaries, and I haven't like fully tested all of them. Like, a lot of the legendaries, and Hans Christian can probably answer this even better than me because he's the one doing it. I think we started plugging in legendaries into the game about 2 weeks ago. And when I say plugging them in, I'm not referring to like their attribute stats, because those have been around since freaking prototype. But like having the actual modifiers that legendaries add, I think it was about 2-ish weeks ago that we started truly incorporating them into the game space. Maybe a little bit earlier than that, but I'm like looking over because I'm curious. Like, I want to see if Hans Christian says something like, "No, Eric, that's completely wrong. I've been working on this for 4 months. Thanks for caring." You know, something like that. Less than 2 weeks. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. So, yeah, these are like when we do these streams and we're showing you stuff, it is seriously hot off the press, guys. Like, this is not traditional development stream stuff. Generally speaking, if you guys are going to a development stream, they're showing you content that is either A, mostly finished and won't be changing like at all, or B, they're not even talking about the development stuff because they want it to be like some sort of like specialty surprise and all this type of stuff. We just want to show you what we're freaking working on. Like, we love having this engagement with you. We love having these discussions with you. And yeah, sure, it brings up a lot of these curious questions that you have that we can't answer. I get that, but this gives you a slice of what to expect and how our vision looks, so your expectation can help start getting aligned with the reality of development. Yes, there's more coming to Rifts. Yes, there's restrictions on legendaries. Yes, there's way to break restrictions. Like, all of these things are going to come to a head, especially the closer we get to that fall release. So I'm glad we're able to like tell you that it's being worked on or that there's going to be more and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be kind of those hard conversations where you're not getting the answers you really want, but I assure you, it's all part of this process of us wanting to show you why it is as soon as we can to get it out the door in the state that it really deserves, not only for ourselves and our vision, but also for you and your expectation. So, cool. I'm gonna do this rift as we're answering more questions. So let's do this.
Excellent. Right. Gilles Mercier on YouTube asks, can you actually dismantle Legendaries?
Maybe. There's definitely going to be a lot on the front of Legendary modification. I'm just going to straight up say it. Spoiler alert, but all of you probably already assumed that.
Wait, Excelsior has asked, good suggestion actually, probably this more than a question, but would you consider adding challenge rifts with seeds for hardcore player base that grant, for example, liveries instead of gear?
It's an interesting idea. We do have a lot of plans for diversifying rifts. That's a curious idea. That's interesting. It's possible. Though I won't say that was necessarily in the plan. At least I don't think it. Hang on a second. Let me check the notes really quick. And also, read the question off one more time. I want to make sure that I'm digesting this properly. What's
okay,
the?
Would you consider adding challenge rifts with seeds for hardcore player base that grant, for example, liveries instead of gear?
Yeah. Okay. So at this time, no, that's not in the plan. I can straight up confirm that. I do like that idea though. So it's like you can challenge a buddy and be like, hey, try this specific rift with me and see how far you can get. You know, like have that sort of challenging sort of buddy interaction with a friend. That could be really cool. Trying to see if there's anything on a sort of front that would be meaningful that could be discussed on this. But it doesn't look like it, unfortunately, no. So I think that would be something amazing if we had more time to work on EVERSPACE 2 and like all of the, like having more money, having more, you know, all of that stuff, right? I think that would be a really cool thing to add alongside. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. Something that we had previously talked about was having some semblance of like online leaderboards for something like the races, for example. Now, as you guys can probably imagine, we cut this out fairly early in development for a number of reasons, you know, specifically because of financial support, because of implementation issues, because of overarching vision and it not coinciding with that whatsoever. Like, we've had to go in very specific directions and leave other pretty cool ideas out in order to satisfy what we need to accomplish, right? So that sounds, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because going through specific Rift seeds sounds a lot like that style of like online leaderboard, sort of cool stuff. Really, like, it's neat, it's awesome, don't get me wrong. It's just not a focal point that we can spend a lot of time on because of the added situations that creates and the demands that requires from a technical side to bring to life. It's just not a priority. So, does sound cool, but just it can't be something we spend our time on at this time with where we're at in development. And I'm looking at the calendar thinking about when our full release is, and I'm just, whew. Man. We do not want explosive death. Enemy area on death and drop mines. Well, shoot, I guess we're choosing enemy name types are hidden. We don't want our drones to just be crushed. Whew. All right, next question.
Next question is from Slorin on YouTube. Will there be rando rifts opening, or will it always happen via a bypass?
Interestingly enough, we had our initial plans for the Ancient Rifts. Like if you go way back in 2019, when we first talked about Ancient Rifts, we talk about how you access Ancient Rifts by going to a specific system and they randomly open up. So that was actually the initial intent. Math is hard. 3 years ago. 3 years ago, that was the initial intent. But this was also the ideation phase of what an Ancient Rift could potentially be, right? We jotted down some ideas and said it would be cool if, and left it there. Then we developed a game. Now that this game has taken form based on our vision, based on your feedback, based on a lot of these cultivating factors of growth and success and development and blah, blah, blah. Now we are going, hey, we need to get to the end game. Let's look at what our plans are. Take out the sheets of paper. yes, ancient rifts. They do these things in that specific way. And we look at where the game's at and we go, does that work? Short answer, no, it didn't really work. It didn't really work. Not for the design structure that we have in mind for the player's progression and the opportunities that you are moving into, especially in a late game formula. So they should be activated from the spatial bypasses almost specifically now. There's always the chance that we could have like a random one that spawns based on a situation or event, and maybe that's like even the tutorial into them or whatnot. But there is not the intent anymore, based on what the original design was, that they are only accessed by going to a specific system and have them randomly open. We want that more of randomization factor applied to HRAs as opposed to rifts, where we want it to be more constructed, more aligned to how you're accessing them from a player standpoint to get more of what you want, even though the adventure through them will have more variety and come up with you know, those unique challenges that we desire. So, yeah. Next question.
Fins on YouTube asks, looking at the rifts, I miss green colour in the environment. Orange and purple are neat, but I really love green things. Any chance some rifts will be greener?
Nope, we are completely done with the rifts, 100%. The colors are finalized. You're not getting any more colors. Nope.
We've run out of colours.
Yeah, we ran out of colors. We actually contacted the color people.
Dulux.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're not done with environments in the rifts at all. We're not done with the objectives in the rifts. So yeah, I mean, you want green, I am rather confident that we will see green colored rifts for sure. For sure. Oh wow, that is a cool little jump over power shot. I like that. So I'm using the devotion. I'm going to kind of use it in tandem. I'm trying to do a little bit more of an alt style generation build here. So that's what I'm kind of focused on while we're still answering more questions. I want to keep going with the questions because I know there's lots of them. So let's do it.
Yeah. Right, Capacop on Twitch asked, I like loading up on high capacity rockets and blasting away on big targets with them. Any chance legendary missiles, mines, rockets, etc.? Hans Christian did actually answer as well. He said yes.
Look, okay, I'm gonna take that one further. Hans Christian's already walking a line. I'm gonna like sit on the edge and just like look over it. We're not even done with all the types of weapons in the game yet. Okay. There we go. I'm getting a text from Michael right now. Hey Eric, how's the stream going? Oh,
quiet.
Yeah, so like nobody's here. There's no questions. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, anyway.
Crispy Muffin on Twitch has asked, will legendaries have their own crafting material, or will they just hold, for example, more star charge conduits to upgrade dismantle if it's even planned?
I'm not sure I understand. Read the question one more time. Let me make sure I...
Will legendaries have their own crafting material, or will they just hold, for example, more star charge conduits to upgrade from dismantle?
Okay, so you're referring to like these bits. These bits. Okay, yeah. So in short, there's going to be legendary modification stuff that we will talk about in the future. It is not at this time. So that's about the best non-answer I can give. There's gonna be stuff in the future. And there's gonna be a reason for wanting to do things with legendaries. That is terribly vague, and I hate it. But yeah, legendary stuff. Legendary stuff.
Okay. Right, we've got two more questions. One's been answered by Hans Christian. Finns has asked on YouTube, will there be legendary consumables, legendary catalysts, legendary ship colors, legendary energy orbs, legendary something else?
Oh man, I love this.
And Hans Christian has answered, there might be some other legendary items, yes.
Yeah. So I think this is a fun question, and I want to answer it in a fun way too, because we have internally had discussions about what should be a legendary. And everything that you listed has actually come up at some point or another. We've talked about legendary Vindicator drones. We've talked about legendary the wings on a ship. We've talked about legendary, like, if it exists in the game, we've thought about, would it be possible to have a legendary variant of it? That's actually really cool with the drones, like, showing up before everything else does. But, like, so I want to... Thundercore, I've never got this one either. Another legendary I haven't seen. Oh my gosh, this is exciting. But, yeah, so, in short, yeah, we want to make sure that the content that we deem legendary is fitting of that title, right? And as of right now, being the core of the game surrounding itemization, your loot, a lot of that is going to come straight into the loot. It's going to be your weapons. It's going to be your modules. Those are going to be the big honkers, right? When it comes to crafting, you know, we have these catalysts. You have the rarities, common, uncommon, rare, superior, and there's clearly a button right here that says legendary, right? Like, no, there's not. There's not clearly. I'm being very facetious here. But, like, could there be? Is that possible? Like, it is technically possible, and we've thought about it. If we go in that direction, we have to take incredible care in how that's cultivated. Because as I've said before, like, especially on this crafting front, right? Like, if we were able to have crafting blueprints of legendary status for your basic inventory, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're going into this territory of crafting being a dominant way of end game status, right? If we were to go into that phase, that also means that there's going to be a new evaluation of crafting as a whole and how that's constructed to build up. Because remember, the intent of crafting is to fill in the gaps as you're building up. Crafting specifically primary and secondary weapons, right? Your modules, your consumables, and your catalysts, and your components, frankly, that looks a bit different because those can still be incredibly viable in your end game state, pertaining to the stats, the modifiers, the temporary bonuses that they provide, the expansion of modification it provides. You know, there's all of that type of stuff, right? There's all of that type of stuff that is very important to note. So, yeah, we thought about it. There's been a lot of different concepts and ideas pertaining to, like, maybe not legendary perks. I don't think we've thought about legendary perks, but, like, we want it to stand out. We want it to be unique, and itemization at its whole is like the big thing, right? That's where it all comes down to. I look over legendary Earthwind, yeah. Commodities, I suppose there could be legendary commodities that happen in the future. That's definitely not a possibility. So let's pick up Thundercore and let's look at this in between questions. I want to talk about this real quick because I've never seen it before. And then we'll answer another question. Thundercore is insane. What in the... Okay, it's 2 levels higher. Okay. Enemies affected by our EMP will be electrified and continuously shock targets within 300 meters for 638 damage per second. Damage is increased by 5% for each enemy affected. What? That's insane. That's... What? Goodness. We were trying to design around this one, and now I'm, like, putting on way too many, and this is gonna get convoluted pretty fast. I don't care. I like Bob. He's staying, and we're not really getting too much value out of devotion because I keep forgetting about it. Thundercore looks amazing. All right, next question.
For the love of Bob.
Basically.
Eric Oldham on YouTube asks, will there ever be consumable armor shield drones for player use in the future, like in EVERSPACE 1?
Oh, I love this question too. So we have had a lot of talk about the Vindicator and its types of drones and just general drones that the player could have access to overall. And the short answer of it is we would love to have more variety on that front. Will we? Hard to say. Do we have plans to? Technically? But it looks different based on where we're at with development. Will we have time for X, Y, and Z? Who knows? But we've even showed you that concept art, at least, let me see if I can actually pull it up really quick. Let me see if I can, oh no, I emptied out my fan art, or concept art folder. Hang on a second, I wanna see if I can find this really quick. Because we even had concept of different Vindicator drones, okay? That I know we've shown in the stream. Let me see if I found it, okay. All right, here, quick interlude here, because this is relevant. Like, look at this. Look at that. Now, I should point out, because this is a little bit like, okay, now you're thinking, oh, we're gonna have, you know, 8 different types of drones for the Vindicator, woo! No. So here's some context. This was actually made for us to figure out the core design of the Vindicator drone. And I want to put emphasis on the here when I say that, okay? We wanted to have one specific Vindicator drone bound to the ship. So we chose from this assortment of styles from the concept art, okay? Well, I showed this concept art a long time ago. For anybody who's wondering, like this has been seen already in a previous stream, but just want to show it again. Obviously, we went with number 5. We really enjoy that one. If, big old freaking if, we were to go into a direction of like more drone types and stuff, there's a possibility that it would come from this pool. And some of these might even look a little bit familiar in what we've done with enemy types, in particular number 4 here. He might look a little bit familiar, for example. So I don't want to say no. There's definitely a means to do so, right? But at the same time, I think it is important just to know, like, there's a lot that we are focused in on, things that we want to develop and encourage proper growth for all types of play, let alone drone types. So, but we also don't want to make like this hyper complicated additional system of drones that you're managing on top of your already deep inventory system, right? So what I mean by that is there's not gonna be like a tab devoted to drones and then you have to outfit all your drones, like each one, and like, oh, here's Bob, he gets this weapon, he gets this shield. Like you're not gonna, if your mind's going that way, I just wanna cut that off. That is the wrong expectation to have, okay? At best, we would have a system like EVERSPACE 1 where you could launch different types of drones from the consumable slot, or that you find randomly out in the ether, out in space, that you can convert to your cause, like there are in a couple locations within CEDO. So, yeah. So that should be the expectations held. Is there room for more? Technically, yes. But that's about it. I was very thorough with that one. Whew. Very thorough.
Very thorough indeed. Last question that I have, which is just nicely timed, just pushing towards the end.
Yep, absolutely. I'm gonna try to do
Vivage on Twitch asks, can legendaries spawn with a prefix? Hans Christian has answered this, and unfortunately say no.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, what can I say?
Yeah, I mean, that's a clear answer. What more can we do?
There we go. Yeah, thanks for the question, everyone. I shall see you all in the next one.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. So we're gonna do this one last run. I'm gonna use the EMP right here, right now. I want to see what happens, but I have a feeling everything's just gonna get roasted, toasted. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's insane. That was delightful. I think this is one. Actually, Casper, I think he'd mentioned that he was using this, and it's just like insanely fun. Because we really need a Sentinel to get this maximized, honestly. But the way that I think it's meant to really work is to just bounce around everything nearby and just crush it all instantaneously. So let's try and do that here. We got a couple guys that are close. If our drones don't destroy them first, which they are, our drones are too good. Here we go, we can... They killed each other too fast. We didn't get to see the electricity bridging between them. Oh my gosh. Now we're stacking ourselves with too many legendaries. We're just like overcoming everything. But oh my gosh. All right, let's keep going. Enemies are resistant to EMP. No! Oh, okay, good. We went to this one. I don't know what it is. We're going to this one, though. I don't want them to be resistant to EMP. Oh my gosh. There should be 4 modifiers on Legendaries, yeah. There should be 4. I think Bob got shafted. Either that or Hans Christian's answered that differently. Oh, remember when I was talking about like drones and like the different looks that they have? It's an Okar shield charge drone. You don't get to see that very often. But they do exist. They're out there in the ether. Gosh, it's kind of like, man, I like the way that this is actually used. It doesn't seem like our ult is too underused here. Like, we can recharge it up fairly quickly. I do think maybe it doesn't work the best on a Vindicator, though, because, you know, drones are stealing all the kills. But regardless, speaking of kills, we're getting them so fast with our drones and our added Bob. Oh my gosh, Bob is just leading the charge. I love it. Let's have some electricity jump. Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's pretty stinking cool. Yeah, I really need to be flying a Sentinel right now to just like maximize that for sure. All right, enemy health bars are hidden. Fine, it's fine. Let's go. We got 1 minute left in the stream. I want one more legendary. We're just gonna, whatever shows up, it's gonna be great. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. I see the response about like the number of modifiers on legendary in chat. So yeah, I mean it can vary. I think that's a very sound answer that I should probably say instead of it should be 4. Because it is gonna, there's so many different factors, oh goodness. And I wouldn't get worked up about it. I would not get worked up about it. The big thing is that we want to make sure that legendaries stand out. Wow, I shot the coil gun and then my ult just recharged right there. That was awesome. That was really cool. Let's destroy this. Yeah, that's really nice. This is any, oh no, where did the big guy go? Did he get away from me? Oh, he's right there. If you're wondering why my ult keeps charging, it's because I keep spending it from devotion. That's crazy. I've got so many drones out. This is nuts. This is nuts. Very cool. Heal up. We're gonna go through this last territory. Oh, whoops! I went through it. There we go. Destroy the boss, see what legendary we get, then we're gonna call it a stream. But man, I was not expecting to go through this many rifts through the course of the stream today. Was not expecting to highlight, how many is this, 4 legendaries? Wow. I think the goal was, sorry Michael, I think the goal was to only show like 1 legendary. I have exceeded expectations, that's what we're oh my gosh. And then just completely crushed him. Eye of the Storm. Okay, this is the last one. This is a good one. We'll show this one. Oh my gosh. All right, so let's grab this Eye of the Storm, have a look at it. Yeah, this one's pretty fun. Secondary weapons will always critical hit while your ult charge is below 30%. Wouldn't this just be a fantastic combination with Devotion? If you're keeping your Alt low, and you're just pounding away with secondaries. Oh my gosh, there's so much there in and of itself, which would be so powerful. But Bomber fans rejoice and wanting to just absolutely shred their opponents with infinite secondary weaponry. So yeah, there you go. Snipping tool is ready. Oh my gosh, you guys don't have to be that crazy. Well, I guess you kind of do, because I can't publicly share these in the Discord, but yeah. Eye of the Storm. Always critical hitting with your secondaries. And keep in mind that this does include stuff like rockets, right? It includes stuff like mines that hit everything in the vicinity. So there's already some incredibly powerful secondary weaponry builds, especially pertaining to mines, honestly. I think that they are arguably the strongest at this point in time in the game. But obviously, through that, you can still get some other pretty gnarly, pretty cool combinations. And you also want to make sure you're using the right secondary, because if you use destabilizer missiles, you're doing it wrong. Not that you couldn't use that in tandem with another secondary, but for the Vindicator here, this would suck, right? Like, this would help us basically none. Anyway. So, in conclusion, guys, we have been hard at work on the ancient rifts to bring those together. We've got the foundation of the rift down, so you can see how they're opened. You use the spatial bypass. You see that there's a certain number of locations you have to survive through, and it's always finished off with some sort of boss-like event. And I say that like it wasn't the exact same thing every single time that you saw on the stream, but you know, there it is. And then you have a good chance of obtaining a legendary. Now, in the dev build, I'm cheating. I can always get a legendary. That was intentionally designed for us to playtest and to show stuff, honestly. And there's also a lot more still coming to these rifts, okay? There's a lot more still, okay? Whether that's pertaining to what you're getting out of it, whether that's pertaining to the objectives within it, whether that's pertaining to like the visualizations of it. There's still a lot more coming. And that's even outside of the fact that we've got a lot more legendaries that we are baking in the oven. They are fluffing up rather nicely. At least most of them. Some of you, they kind of get the burned edges and you're like, nah, it's not so good. But there's a lot of this content, which is our focal point for this fall. This is all coming, well, not all, but this is a lot of the content that we are focused on and what we want to deliver for this fall. And that's, I mean, there's even more pertaining to freaking mutators and modifiers and, oh my gosh, it keeps going. Will it ever end? Will it end? Hans Christian, are you dying like I am inside? Oh. But it's beautiful. It's a wonderful problem to have. And we are eager to get more and more and more of this variety and this content into the game space for you guys to get your hands on it. So yeah, there it is. Successful stream is successful. I'm tired. Woo! So I'm sure that you guys probably asked a couple more questions, but in short, if you do have more, the best way to get those answered is by sneaking over to the Discord. It's right there. It's leaving the screen. Oh my gosh. Discord.gg/RockFishGames. There's an Ask RFG channel. Dive in there. Ask your questions. We would love to help clarify further details. You know this to be true because I've been doing it all freaking stream. Whether I was technically supposed to or not, you know, that's debatable. But I did anyway because I love you. I love sharing this information with you. The team loves giving this content to you. Again, to help align those expectations, to help you see what our overarching vision is meant to be, and to also start those discussions so we can ensure that this is not just the game we want it to be, but also the game you want it to be. So, cool. We're done. Stream's over. We're good. That's all I got. I have to run. We're late. Technically, we've been in post-stream shenanigans for 7 minutes. Post-stream shenanigans for 7 minutes. So, I gotta get out of here. And you You've been awesome. Oh my gosh, all of you have been so awesome. All of you have had such great questions. And if there's any, so many words, I have been Eric Schrader, your community ambassador for Rockfish Games. Don't stop being awesome. Let's continue the conversation elsewhere, and we'll catch you next week when we'll probably have even more stuff to show. Toodles! Okay, look, my wife and children are coming in right now, so I just have to give one other quick little detail because this is important, all right? I just want a huge shout out to Hans Christian and Casper, who have been diving in here and answering questions alongside me, because we knew that we were going to have a lot of people poking about and like trying to figure things out, what they were seeing on the screen, questions generating. So huge shout out to you guys. Really do appreciate it. If there are other members of the team that were in chat, speaking on, forever hold your peace, but sincerely, major thanks for them diving in. And also, did you know that wishlisting us helps us so much, and it also helps you because it tells you whenever EVERSPACE 2 has a sale or when an update shows up, like one yesterday that said, we were gonna talk about Ancient Rifts today. Like, these things happen if you wishlist us. It pops up in your little news feeds. It's wonderful. It's so delightful. And not only that, but it gives exposure for us. Like, it's a win-win situation, and the game is going to go up in price whenever we get into next year when the game launches. So right now is the time to buy if you're looking for the most affordable opportunity, okay? I'm just putting that out there because I know some of you are pinched for cash and you just don't know how you want to spend your money. If that's you, wishlist us, wait for sales, all that type of stuff right now. Otherwise, we do appreciate you sharing your love of the game with others. It's always a treat to see you doing that, watching your streams. It's so great. It's so wonderful. So, all right, guys, I'm out. Toodles. For real this time.